sustainability is important to me and the work I do and the things I talk to people about, because if we're going to continue to live on this planet indefinitely, it has to be in a sustainable way, right? And things like climate change are a symptom of a non-sustainable lifestyle. So action on climate change is naturally tied up with sustainability from my perspective.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, over many years, I've observed that the environment is central. We live from the environment, we affect the environment, and if we don't use it sustainably, we're in deep trouble. And we are.
Yeah, we are.
And so this is why I think the Sustainable Development Goals have become quite pertinent and important, because whatever we do in this little spot of the world has a repercussion somewhere else.
Yeah, and vice versa. What goes on in other parts of the world is going to reflect on New Zealand for sure.
And in particular, I think the numbers of people, where they're located, exposes them to the sort of changes that are occurring, particularly with climate change. And some of those people will be affected more detrimentally than others. And different groups within those locations will be affected in different ways depending on how vulnerable they are and their ability, their what we call adaptive capacity, their ability to deal with problems that they're confronted with.
You know, I think New Zealand is well placed to not only be an exemplar on action on climate change, but also to be, I think, ultimately a destination for people from neighbouring countries, just because we'll still be okay, while some of our Pacific neighbours are going to be struggling, whether that's because of sea level rise or salination of fresh water or lack of ability to grow crops, so food security and so on. All those things are going to play a role. And New Zealand, for the foreseeable future at least, is probably going to be relatively well off on those fronts. But this is something that really does affect everybody, and there is not one region that's more at risk than another in one sense or another. So
there'll be different sorts of
different risks in different places, but everybody is having to face up to something. So absolutely, so we all do need to work together. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody has to be on board. Not everybody has to be working out the solutions or calling the shots or whatever, but ultimately all of society has to adapt to what's going on. And small actions collectively make a big difference.
And so this is another point, really, isn't it? That if we're going to do changes in our lives around dealing with climate change, reducing emissions or adapting to the impacts of them, they need to be really carefully thought through in terms of the consequences, because sometimes you can do things for reducing emissions, but it might actually create a problem for adapting to climate change. And I'll give you an example. In Wellington, when the decisions were being made about the placement of the little arena out at Kilburnie, for example, I recall there was a conversation going on about, well, what do they do about the stormwater? They had a big stormwater. That used to be a swamp, right? Another swamp story. Not the DC one. The swamp that was there meant that you've got a gravity-fed stormwater system.
Right.
So the question is, do they pump as it gets worse? So pumping, fossil fuels. Okay? Increase emissions. The council will increase its emissions by pumping. And how long will that go? And that'll be a temporary solution. And it was described to me as a temporary solution because eventually it'll become either too expensive to pump or the pumps won't work. Sea level rise. Okay? So every action you take has a counter reaction, as we know from physics.
No free lunches.
And so thinking through the consequences as we're taking action is really important.
I give a lot of talks to public groups, Rotary clubs and all that kind of thing. And I always get this question, what can I do? What can we do about this? And I tend to give two answers. One is, we can make personal choices, take the bus, use public transport rather than drive our petrol-powered vehicle. Maybe when it comes time to get a new car, you get an electric one, and so on. make sure you've got low energy light bulbs in your house,
Yep.
insulated house, all those things. There are lots of ways we can reduce our personal carbon footprint. But then I also say that one of the best things you can do is just talk to your family and your neighbours, make sure everyone knows what's going on,
Yep.
and have some kind of political level response to this. Talk to your MP, make sure that your elected representatives know this is something that concerns you, make sure that the business people in your community know that it's an issue for you, because not only do individuals need to change what they do, but we really need political change, and change from the top down as well as from the bottom up.
The other thing is to look for examples of where you think you could make a difference, and to be noisy about it. And also starting little movements. I mean, in the community I live, the retailers got together and decided they'd be plastic free by a certain time.
Okay.
And so they got a bunch of people in the community making, cotton bags that could be used out of old t-shirts and things like that.
Right.
So rather than throwing your clothing out, you can use them to make a bag to put your groceries in. You can take that to the supermarket. And I must say, I've noticed recently with the move for the supermarkets to move out of plastic, for example, and they've provided bags to people, that there's more and more people at the supermarket who are not using plastics.
Right.
So if we see things like that, pick up the phone and talk to someone. Your point. Talk to your MP about it.
Yeah.
So sustainable development has that institutional and political sort of component.
And there are, certainly there's a political component, to a lot of these things, all of them, I suppose, reducing poverty and climate action, work.
Quality of our education.
Yeah, hunger, everything. All
Reducing
of these things really have that
inequalities.
sort of bottom up as well as top down component, don't they? Yeah. I was at an event yesterday where James Shaw was speaking, Minister for Climate Change issues, and the national spokesperson on climate change had been invited and was there. And I think we can get that kind of cross-party agreement that this is a problem. It's not a political problem. It's a problem for society that we all need to front up to.
To be sustainable, we have to be aware that there are limits to the environment, and that once you've destroyed your environment, some of it is irreversible.
Exactly, yeah. So we need to go to that sort of donut economics model rather than assuming growth is going to. There's no, sustainable growth is a great oxymoron, and there's no such thing as sustainable growth. There is space in the climate system on the Earth for certain kinds of human activity and a certain amount of human activity, but we do have to be mindful of these natural limits, whether that's, that comes out as a change in climate or resource depletion or pollution of whatever kind. Keeping those things in mind, knowing that we live on a finite planet and there's only so much stuff to go around. If it can be recycled and reused, great. But this infinite growth model has to go at some point.
And I think also I'm mindful of the fact that our future leaders will not have seen New Zealand as it was once.
True.
And so a sense of history of what's happened, and in particular, what's happened in the last 10 years in New Zealand. I mean, it's on my watch, and I feel very uncomfortable about that. And so I think they need to understand just how fast things have changed. We've reached thresholds, some tipping points in some of our environmental indicators, and also our social ones, our inequality,
that's true,
and so forth. So I think having a sense of where we've come from, what we've done to this place to get to these limits you talk about is essential.
And also to know that as a small country, small population, we can be really flexible and nimble, and we can change rapidly. The changes in the 1980s demonstrated that pretty forcefully.
Yes.
The whole economy of New Zealand, the whole way we thought about ourselves, changed within a matter of a few years.
Yeah.
And we could do that again. The sort of the cliche is the wartime footing for the economy, that if we really wanted to tool up and deal with climate change, we could do it, maybe not overnight, but fairly quickly. Just to know that these kinds of things have happened in the past and we can navigate our way around.
So, anything's possible.
Indeed. Cheers.